Well, tonight, minority in parliament vehemently demands withdrawal of government's One-Cedi levy on petroleum product, describing the policy as hypocritical, draconian, and a midnight robbery.
The hypocrisy and the ill intent from the beginning has now been exposed by their confusing reasoning.
It's just simple wickedness. And we'll continue with our advocacy to government to withdraw this levy and adopt less painful and more pragmatic options.
Oh, yeah, the defense from the majority side.
Why did they walk out? What were they afraid of? And they should stop throwing dust into people's eyes that they were not consulted.
Meanwhile, the drivers have suspended their threat to strike until June 16 over the implementation of the One-Cedi levy. We have fallout from a crucial meeting between government and the drivers a while ago.
If they fail, then we know that, yes, they couldn't keep their word. So we hold them by their word. If we find out that it has changed, then we also advise ourselves.
Details coming up here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel, connecting energies. Well, tonight, the minority in parliament is slamming government's decision to impose a One-Cedi levy on petroleum product, calling it ill-conceived, hypocritical, and a betrayal of Ghanaians. They say the move amounts to, quote, midnight robbery, unquote, and are demanding an immediate halt to the policy implementation. The Energy Sector Levy Amendment Bill, which has already been passed by Parliament and assented to by President John Mahama, was expected to take effect today. But government was forced into a temporary U-turn following fierce opposition from transport unions and the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Already, commercial drivers are threatening to go ground their vehicles in less than 24 hours if the levy isn't withdrawn. And we understand that the transport unions have postponed this particular threat. Government, we understand, has also been holding emergency meetings in a last-ditch effort to avert the strike. Tonight, the minority is calling on government to put the brakes and return to the consultation table. Let's head to Parliament now, where members of the minority from the Energy and Economic Committees held a joint news conference earlier today. My colleague James Aveji was there and joins us live with details. James, let's start with the Energy Committee. What exactly is your concern about the fuel levy?
Well, Bryce, so the ranking member on the Energy Committee, George Kwame Abuaje, is the one who spoke on behalf of the committee. He first indicated that as we speak, it is not clear what government is taking this tack for. He first indicated the president's position on this when he spoke in Abidjan, stating that this is for the clearance of the energy sector, legacy debt. But I also cite an example of the energy minister, John Jinapor, who indicated that this is not for the settlement of this debt, but rather for the fuel purchasing, funds for purchasing fuel to power the plants for generation of power. And then he went ahead to make the point about how all of this constitutes deceit, inconsistency, as well as a betrayal of the trust of the public as government went ahead on the night of Tuesday to pass this particular bill.
Today, we have come full cycle on the energy sector levy. This hypocrisy, this unethical behavior will not be allowed to pass. The NDC hypocrisy has now been exposed by the fact that in their bid to justify what they knew they will do, they have now come up with confusing explanations as to why this levy is needed and inevitable. His Excellency President Mahama on May 13, 2025, at African CEO Summit in Abidjan, here's what he said, and I quote, "We are using the proceeds from the energy sector levy to pay down the arrears," unquote. Members of the press, which is which? Is this levy to pay debt or to buy fuel? The NDC has forgotten that they had announced earlier that they will finish the payment of the energy sector debt by December 2026. His Excellency President Mahama at the summit in Abidjan also said, announcing at the conference that he will clear the energy sector debt by December 2026. At the time this was announced, they had not told the people of Ghana that they were going to introduce a levy to attempt to do this, assuming this levy is for debt payment. So is it that they had planned this levy all along and lied that they won't impose a levy?
Now, James, the Economy and Development Committee also weighed in on this debate. But why are they describing this as, quote, midnight robbery, unquote?
The ranking member, Kojo Nkrumah, made a juxtaposing argument between the e-levy and the energy sector levy as we have it now. He said, if you look at the e-levy, it is targeted at a section of the public who, if they perform electronic transactions, will be charged this particular tax. But as far as this particular, they call it doomsday levy is concerned, everybody is going to have cascading effect on every sector of the economy, including the poor, especially those who use trotro back and from their businesses. A reason he said this can only be described as a midnight robbery on the pocket of the general public.
Ghanaians will bear witness that this levy is being charged at a rate of 8% per transaction. 8% per transaction. And this makes it one of the highest tax rates introduced in Ghana in a single instance. If you study the history of VAT and many of our other revenue handles, you notice that at the first instance of introduction, sometimes it's 1%, 1.5%, or 2%. And then maybe as the years go by, you may find some add-ons and then a consolidation. For this particular levy, at the first instance, the government is charging the people of Ghana 8%. The government imposed a levy with an 8% transaction rate on the people of Ghana. It's just simple wickedness. And to think that this 8% is on every gallon of fuel, actually cascading down to every liter of fuel, to pay for the inefficiencies in the energy sector, is simply a stab in the back of many people who believe the government at their words that they will not impose levies to pay for the inefficiencies in the energy sector. Now, for every 1 gallon of petrol product that you buy or diesel that you buy, this government is, because of this tax, going to take an additional 4 cedis and 50 pesos from you. That is 8%. We recall the NDC's claim that the then MPP government had done no work for Ghanaians when they are transferring their money, and therefore had no business in charging 1% levy on Momo transactions. So we ask you, what is the work that the NDC has done when you are buying your fuel, for which reason they are now charging 8% tax on it?
Well, James, they continued by accusing government of not being honest with Ghanaians. What's the basis for this claim?
In fact, the basis, as they say, is that you remember when during the vetting of the finance minister, when he proposed that they would be developing the economy by cancelling a number of taxes, they raised a question as to where government will be getting the revenue from, and he indicated that they will cancel the taxes but not introduce new ones. And so they believe that for government to turn around to introduce this new tax would mean that they have betrayed the public, the trust the public have in them, as well as, stabbing them at the back by charging 1 cedi per litre on every fuel. They've also been giving government some remedies in the absence of this tax in order to generate some revenue as well.
The e-levy was advertised in the budget. It was followed up with town hall meetings, and it onboarded extensive public consultations before the bill was finally passed in Parliament. This doomsday levy was smuggled through to avoid any form of public engagement, consultation, or scrutiny. It was neither advertised in the budget nor in the main order paper for the day. And that's why we say that this amounts to midnight robbery. The e-levy had an effective rate of 1% per transaction, yet it was described as pickpocketing. This Dumsor levy has the effective rate of 8% per transaction. And that's why we say that it is midnight robbery. The e-levy avoided transactions that were not in excess of 100 Ghana cedis, you will recall. And the argument that was canvassed at the time was that we had to create some room for the very poor to be excluded from it. Yet the e-levy was bastardized. The poor were exempted. This Dumsor levy has no minimum threshold. The poor are actually the most affected because, unlike the rich, for the poor, every single cedi counts a lot more. And that's why we say it's midnight robbery. The e-levy, number 4, was payable only by people who opted to do money transfers. This Dumsor levy is payable by all Ghanaians, unless you decide to work every day. Number 6, the e-levy was designed to yield approximately 2 billion Ghana cedis from persons who elected to do transfers or transactions. Now, colleagues, you are here in Parliament. You will recall the day that the e-levy was repealed. Our good friend, the majority leader, was on his feet, shouting his voice hoarse that the government has put 2 billion cedis back into the pockets of Ghanaians. I'm sure you recall. This Dumsor levy is taking from everybody over 5.7 billion cedis for this fiscal year. So if repealing the e-levy put 2 billion back into the pockets of Ghanaians, what does introducing the Dumsor levy that takes away 5.7 billion do? In his own words, this government is taking 5.7 billion Ghana cedis from the pocket of Ghanaians. And we think it is very dishonest because if you claim that you are giving Ghanaians 2 billion back, which was so untoward, it was evil by the previous administration, how do you give back 2 billion and take 5.7 billion from the people? It's only the NDC government that does that, justifies it, and expects everybody to say that that is some smart economic approach.
Well, the minority didn't end there. They had their own demands of government. Listen to them.
The minority believes strongly that if this government is minded to pay off the energy sector debt, because you recall that part of their justification is that they want to pay off the energy sector debt. In fact, the president said he will pay it off by December 2026. And we have just done the maths for you, that if you look at what is going to accrue in the 2 years, it cannot pay off the energy sector debt. But let us assume that they are being honest with that they want to pay off the energy sector debt. We think that what the government should do is to conclude the renegotiations of the of the power purchase agreements which were started by the previous administration, and to pass on 2 things, the fuel and capacity charges into the PPAs. Government should include these in the tariff calculations to eliminate the need for off-book debts that are caused by the take or pay clauses in the energy sector contracts that were signed between 2013 and 2016. And you will recall that that is one of the major challenges that has created the stock of energy sector debt. The capacity charges and the take or pay charges, which could not be included in the tariffs. And so every now and then a bill is sent to the finance ministry to pay, and that bill is accumulating. If the government is really intended to pay, one of the things it should do is to complete the renegotiation, move the fuel purchases and the excess capacity charges into the PPAs, so that when people consume a certain realistic amount, then they will pay. Number 2, government should quicken the efforts to bring efficiency into the operations of GRIDCO and ECG to reduce transmission, distribution, and other technical losses. We want to advertise that we'll be embarking on the following. Number 1, we'll continuously engage the people of Ghana, civil society groups, driver unions, and the media to showcase the true impact of this draconian and negative levy that the government is imposing on us. Number 2, we'll continue to stand with the groups of honest Ghanaians, the driver unions, the Chamber of Oil Marketers, who are opposing the levy or asking government to pull back and to engage better and not to go by this midnight introduction into Parliament and using their numbers to push it through. We know that.
Well, so that is Kojo Ponkroma, the member. He is ranking on the Economic Committee of Parliament. Meanwhile, the majority in the House is defending the new levy. Chairman of the Energy Committee, Emmanuel Beja, has dismissed claims that there was no consultation with the minority. He insists this is the most sustainable option to help government deal with the ballooning energy sector debt without overburdening the ordinary Ghanaian. On concerns about the potential hike in pump prices, Mr. Beja says Ghanaians have nothing to fear. Listen to him as he makes that point.
We need close to 12.6 billion. And so the 5.6 billion is just half of what we are anticipating. The 5.7 billion that will be raking from the One-Cedi on every liter is just about half of what we are looking for.
So the rest is coming from where exactly?
Additional funds.
So the additional funds will come from where?
From government. I mean, government has been taking care of the 12.6 billion all this while. There will not be any increment to the fuel prices. There will not be any increment. And you can take it from me as a chair of Energy Committee. There is not going to be any increment. All we are seeing is that there is going to be a further reduction. That further reduction was what we have factored into to make it one Ghana. And so, at the world market, as well as looking at our economy, the CD appreciating against dollar, we are saying that difference is what we are using to buy fuel.
All right, you hear the chairman of the Parliament's Energy Committee, Emmanuel Beja, there. But let me bring in Dr. Riverson Opon, who is CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, to find out from him if that is true. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. We understand that the One-Cedi levy will not result in any increment of fuel prices. Is that how you understand it?
Thank you so much, and good evening to you and your listeners. I think we need to do proper education to the public. Forecasting a new window today against the next window to claim that prices will be the same or go down or go up is still premature. Since the window we are working within will give us a proper forecast and anticipation on Thursday or Friday. Okay, and that is when we will actually understand how the world market price is behaving. It is stable, powerful, and if everything standardized, or in other words, remains the same, then it means that the One-Cedi will be added as a levy to the pump price. So where do we see the no impact? And if we had indeed accepted the implementation yesterday, obviously Cedi being stabilized and with the current status quo of the window, believe me, fuel price would have gone up. So it depends on where or which spectacle our government is looking through.
The argument is that there will be some savings from the reduction from the world market, and that's why they feel that there won't be any sort of increment.
That is why I'm telling you that we already have a window which is working, okay? And I'll give a caveat. I mean, assuming everything remaining equal, because within this window, the price of the world market is not necessarily going down. It's just stabilized. So if we're applying this same window, okay, then the One-Cedi would have been an additional levy to be added to the pump price. So do the mathematics. It is next window that we are expecting that probably with the forecast, in the world market, things might be, but at this point, it's too early for anybody to even try his or her bet on that.
All right, so it means that we should be ready to pay more if the case, if this implementation starts.
Yeah, and you see, let's go to the fact that we are in we're in a regime where things look bad in the energy sector, and things have been looking bad for a long time. It's not even the first time we are having this kind of conversation. Exactly 4 years ago, in your own beloved station, Joy, one Saturday, we discussed this, and we actually told the government that we should be careful with the way we are going. You understand? So I think that's a tangent we need to look at. Okay. Not just that the city is doing well, what market prices are coming down, so let's add One-Cedi and with no impact.
Okay.
Remember, we moved from 7 cities to where we are today. You understand? And we are nowhere near the 7 cities that we've actually jumped from. Let Ghanaians be sympathetic that this is the problem, and they want to be patriotic. What if the flat price doesn't behave the way you are anticipating? Because I really don't like working around prices that you and I don't have control over.
So that's Dr. Riverson Oponda. He's CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, making the point that, well, it's not accurate to say that there won't be any, increases if the levy is being implemented. Let me bring in the ranking member on Economic Committee of Parliament, Kojo Nkrumah, joining us here. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. Now, you've proposed that government must renegotiate power purchase agreement and pass on fuel and capacity charges into the PPAs. And these must be included in the tariff calculations. But that is exactly what government says it doesn't want to do. Why do you insist this is the way to go?
Why do you want to, first of all, good evening to you and to your listeners. Why do you want to go and buy a product at $10 and come and sell it at $7 and then accumulate a debt of $3 on the side and then tax the people to pay for the $3? When you know that if you pass on the full $10 to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, they will interrogate the operations of the power producers, compel the power producers to absorb part of their losses, and pass on only the realistic price to the consumer at home. That is the more efficient way to do it. Part of the problem is that the government, the same government that is in power today, when they were in power between 2013 and 2016, they signed power purchase agreements in which they opted to provide fuel separately, in which they included excess capacity charges separately to be paid by government. That is what crystallizes as the major components of this energy sector debt that we are saddled with. But if you were to put them in the PPA properly, what will happen is that it will go before the PURC. The power producer will go before PURC and make a justification. And PURC will not allow them to pass on their inefficiencies to the Ghanaian until they fix it. You are not doing that. You are keeping the debt on the side and now taxing Ghanaians at 8% per transaction to go and pay for it. And that is why everybody who is looking at this from a non-partisan point of view is saying that pull the brakes and let's engage better. You just played Honorable Bejera's voice in which he claims that there will be no increase in fuel prices. The experts in the operation are telling you that that is not correct. You can say that for the next window, not even for this window. And by the way, the next pricing window is just a short-term window. What does the medium to long-term say about fuel prices? Does it necessarily suggest that crude oil prices on the global market is a dead deal, that it will continue to come down? So there are a lot of factors that must be analyzed. That's why everybody is calling on the government to pull the brakes for more analysis and discussion. But the government believes that they have the goodwill, they have the numbers in Parliament, so they will ride it through. And that's the unfortunate situation we find ourselves in.
But this PPA option, is it an easy thing to do? If it is, why couldn't your government do it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, governance is not easy, first of all. It's difficult. That's why you take it up that you do it. Number two, when our government took it on, we succeeded in renegotiating some, not all. We are not the ones who said that by 2026 we'll finish paying the debt. It was the NDC government and His Excellency President Mahama, who announced that he will pay the debt off by 2026 December, we announced a different strategy that, among other things, we're going to reduce our reliance on thermal power by increasing our reliance on renewable energy. You recall the 2024 manifesto position, because we could foresee this coming. At the time, they laughed at us and mocked us. Now they are here, and their answer to the problem is not to negotiate, not to go renewable, but to tax Ghanaians to pay for the inefficiencies of the energy sector. And this is something they swore heaven and earth they will never do.
I'm grateful to you, Kojo, for joining us here. Kojo Ponkroma is ranking member on the Economy Committee. Let me bring in Kofi Akonoko, who is member Energy Committee. Kofi, now, how do you answer the question of justifying giving 2 billion cedis to Ghanaians through the cancellation of e-levy and now taking 5 billion back through this One-Cedi on a letter?
Well, thank you, Kojo, and then greetings to your listeners. And then let me say hi to Kojo. Kojo happens to be the ranking of the committee, of which I am the vice chair. But for Kojo's sake, let me assure Kojo that we will continue the negotiations on the PPAs. And it's something that this minister has committed himself to. And also to assure Kojo that, we are a sensitive government. And tomorrow, based on how good we are handling the finance minister, the governor of the BOG, and this government is happening the economic situation, if tomorrow we wake up and then the calculations we did is out of place, it will not be difficult for us to come back to Parliament and review this amendment. Unlike them, that we have to chase them to review the e-levy. And also, one thing Kojo is forgetting.
Kofi, how do you quote, for a lack of better word, demonize e-levy, but want to celebrate One-Cedi on a letter?
Kojo, come again.
I'm asking, how do you, for a lack of a better word, demonize e-levy, but to say that Ghanaians should accept One-Cedi on a letter of petroleum product?
Kojo, one thing that we are forgetting is that when the MPP took over from 2016, upon all the bills and taxes they implemented, which was more than 6 at the first year, Ghanaians never complained. The issue with Ghanaians that we should understand is that Ghanaians would never have a problem if you implement taxes on them and make sure you put those taxes to use. And that is what we'll do. E-levy was implemented in their second year, and Ghanaians were against it because they had not proved us right with the initial taxes they had implemented. So, Kojo, if you should go out in the street, that's why I'm not surprised that GPRTU has reversed and decided to suspend the strike, because at the end of the day, how much is the cost of fuel at the pumps? Kojo, one thing we are forgetting is that we are not only saying that we are putting this One-Cedi on a liter and leaving the rest. We are committed to ensuring that there's production of gas. And that is why there's the proposal to build a second gas processing facility.
Okay. Kofi, I'm grateful to you. He is a member on Parliament's Energy Committee. Duncan Amoy is joining us here. Duncan Amoy, Executive Director for COPEC. Duncan, from the consumer point of view, government says there won't be, but the oil marketing company says there will definitely be an increase. Should we expect, what will be the impact on the consumer if this is implemented?
Well, I do think that we should face the reality. And the reality is that on the 16th, which happens to be the second window for June, where price adjustments are likely to happen, indications we have currently suggest that pump prices could go down. You would need, however, to do a 12 to 14-day weighted average to be able to come up with your indicative prices for the following window, which starts on the 16th. And so it will be early days yet to put a firm figure on how much we are expecting the drop to be. And so there is a possibility prices will go down. Would it be 20 pesos? Would it be 30? Would it be 40? Would it be 50? I don't get an indication as of now that we could get the 1 Ghana cedi reduction.
I'm grateful to you. Duncan Amwa is the Executive Director of COPEC, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Up next is Newsnight.
"30 years of joyfulness." Hashtag Stop Girl I'm Saying Now. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. Well, the news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and on over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up tonight, Fair Wages and Salary Commission in crunch emergency talks with striking nurses in a desperate move to halt the nationwide chaos unfolding at public health facilities across the country. Details as the Ghana Mortuary Workers Association reports a disturbing spike in bodies received, highlighting the severe human impact of the ongoing strike.
As compared to the usual normal working hours, in which in the event that when the nurses were working, we had normal, the people are dying though, but this time round, I think that the death toll is increasing.
Also tonight, Parliament to draft bill for lifestyle audits amid growing demand for stricter measures to tackle corruption.
And I was happy to hear OSP also include it in their statement. We will legislate and we will stop this impunity of people flouting ill-gotten wealth.
We have more from the Speaker, Alban Bagwin, who is blaming widespread corruption on inadequate coordination among accountability institutions as he outlines plans for the bill and his proposed disintegrity awards.
This, we will identify such a person and name the person when we are doing the awards for the persons of integrity. Whether the person attends to take the cross or not, it will be hung there on the person's neck.
Consumers could be paying more than the One-Cedi as the energy sector levy on fuel rather than the original amount announced.
Also in sports.
Sports Minister hits back at Ghana Boxing Association President concerning the delayed repatriation of the body of deceased Nigerian boxer.
And a bit later, Media Foundation for West Africa questions National Media Commission's effectiveness in protecting Ghanaian journalists following recent assault on Joy News journalist Latif Idrisu. We have details of these and many other stories coming up tonight. My name is Kenneth, Gyasi.
Fostina, Safo, please stay for details.
Telecel Cash has the lowest transfer charges ever in Ghana. Send Keke with Telecel Cash. You for sort out your old boy? Send Keke. Your girl they bill you? Send Keke. Merchant payment? Send Keke to all networks. T-Cash agents in Swatch baby. You won't buy some 1212. Send Keke. And even better, T-Cash to T-Cash transfers are still free on the Telecel Play app. Telecel Cash is a secure and convenient platform for cash transfers across all networks and anywhere mobile money transactions are made. made. Dial *110# to send money at the lowest charges ever, or download the Telecel Play app to send cash to T-Cash wallets for free. Telecel Cash. Send the keke.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining in my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me down my dark with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
And tonight, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association are in a crunch meeting talks in a desperate move to contain the escalating crisis in the nation's public health system. The turmoil stems from the total withdrawal of services by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, whose indefinite strike has crippled operations at major health facilities nationwide.
Well, although the National Labour Commission has secured a court injunction in an attempt to halt the action, GRNMA remains unwavering, with patients stranded. My colleague Collins Frimpong was on the grounds earlier today engaging with some individuals as they struggle through the deepening national health emergency.
My brother and I bedu at 5:30. Besi saa time yen share. No more nurses for cause strike. I
arrived here with my brother at 5:30 a.m. for treatment, but no one has attended to us because of the strike. They said doctors are supposed to take over, but they are all in the wards. My brother recently had heart surgery, and we're here for a review.
Remember last month, and I almost share me say, remember on the 9th.
I came here last month. They asked me to return today. I have a heart condition, but there's no one here to attend to me. I have nowhere else to go. I'm supposed to undergo surgery on my stomach, but the doctors said they need to address my heart issues first. Now, there's no one available to help.
The operation, last week almost was strike. This week is almost strike.
I came for a review, but I was told the nurses are on strike. I had surgery on my neck and needed a follow-up. I was here last week too, but they were still on strike. I was told to go home because there were no nurses available.
Right, so that's what patients have been experiencing in various hospitals here in the Greater Accra region, also in the Ashanti region. The situation was not different.
Scan section, and they say that the nurses are on strike, so we can't do. So we have to go back home and wait till this strike, everything is over, and we just come. I'm coming from Ekropon, Ekropon, Chiman will be rather. Ekropon,
How is your father's condition?
For the past few weeks, it's not easy. He's not feeling well. He can't even eat. He's going through a lot. He needs medical attention, I know. We have been trying to contact the doctor. The doctor said we should come here. So because he believed that Konfanoti has all the expertise and all those stuff to take those scans and everything. But it seems we came here and unfortunately they said the nurses are on strike, so we have to wait them.
He had some stranded patients there in the Ashanti region. Well, the impact of the strike is hitting harder now. General Secretary of the Ghana Mortuary Workers Association, Richard Kofi Jordan, has revealed an alarming surge in bodies received per day.
Mortuaries are also receiving more deaths as compared to the usual normal working hours, in which in the event that when the nurses were working, we had normal, the people are dying though, but this time around, I think that the death toll is increasing every day.
Do we have any numbers to back it? Where you are, what are the figures that we are getting?
No, I can't give you specifics. But what I know is that, for instance, We know averagely in Kolebu you can have about 50. This time right has risen above that. Other facilities, Kompanochi and all that, we are hearing it. We know, but I can't give you specifics. There are too many to, unless I'm able to collect data in all mortuaries. But as we speak, there is enough evidence to prove that the death toll in our various facilities are increasing.
And with healthcare services severely disrupted nationwide due to the ongoing strike, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Samuel Kaba Akorea, is appealing to the GRNMA to suspend the industrial action and return to the negotiation table.
Let me also take the opportunity to call on our sisters and brother nurses to come back to work. Just like yesterday, I said to one nurse that if you come to the hospital now, you as a nurse, and you are pregnant, you are going to deliver, because she was a pregnant nurse. What are you going to say? Will you say, I won't deliver today because we are on strike? You'll be shouting, let's all do this. Let's go back to the negotiation table. If it's your auntie, your mother who is sick, what are you going to do? Will you say, I won't take her to the hospital because we are on strike? And when you go to the hospital, who do you expect to take care of your mom or you yourself? So I humbly add my voice to the Honorable Minister that please come back to work and let's continue negotiating.
Well, let's get talking and get onto the telephone lines and speak to the ranking member on the Parliament Select Committee on Health and MP for Gyasi Asokore, Dr. Nana Ayu-Efri. Good evening, Doc. Welcome to the show. We understand that the Health Committee is sitting tomorrow. I believe this will be big on the agenda. What will you do to intervene?
Yeah, a very good evening to your listeners. And basically, tomorrow, what you heard is the pressure we're doing from the minorities position on this impasse. Also, subsequently, we would get a parliamentary committee to provide oversight into why government is not trying to listen to the necessary. Yeah.
Right. The minister has continuously appealed to the striking nurses to consider all that is going on and lay down their tools. Don't you think that's convincing enough?
It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Am I speaking to Evans?
This is Kenneth.
Kenneth, we
yes.
shouldn't have gotten to this point. That's my position I had with your sister station TT on Friday or last week Thursday. My position is clear. The government is a continuous process. It's a continuum. The previous government agreed with the nurses in May 2024. They approved on this bargaining right, okay? And then the psychiatric nurses took the registered nurses and midwives to court on what would be an internal issue. So the agreement they had with the Ministry of Finance, that was subsequently supposed to be implemented, unfortunately was not able to come off until January 25th of this year, that they did some sort of settlement among themselves. The nurses wanted thereafter the finance ministry to execute that approval that was reached in May 2024. And they didn't grant them any audience. You didn't grant them audience. No audience granted to them from January up until June. Do you know what the Minister of Finance told them? They told them they want to meet them on the 18th of June. Show some level of respect to people when they have their rights. I'm not saying that the minority support this strike because it's a matter of life and death. That's the issue at stake. But the manner in which they are handling it, it's wrong. I'm not happy to lose my parent. Neither are you happy to lose a relative.
Indeed.
But I said that the nurses are right. They are justified because this is their right. We agreed on it. So what do? You meet them and tell them, okay, so this is your right, but this is the way I want to go about it. I will stagger the process this way. I will enroll this one. I will give you your uniform allowances. I'll do the CPD. I'll take care of the clean. But this is the roadmap. You didn't grant them this audience. And that is why I said the nurses are right. Because they've waited for 6 months, for far too long.
You mentioned that the nurses are right. That is indeed accurate. But we've traveled across the country from the Ashanti region here in the Greater Accra region, Upper West region, all over the country. It is the ordinary Ghanaian that is feeling the impact of this particular strike. Don't you side with those that are pleading with the nurses to at least return to work and continue the negotiations with government?
Yes, that is why you, first of all, you have to blame the Labour Commission, because the Act says that these are essential services. They don't have to go on strike. Before they go on strike, they notify you, and you should attend to their needs within 72 hours. The Minister of Finance, as for the Ministry of Health, they are the implementing agency. They are done with them. They are with the Ministry of Finance. So on this occasion, the nurses are saying, we reached with the MPP government, the ministry approved of this, that's the Ministry of Health. They took it to the Ministry of Finance, they approved of it. They were going to get controller to implement it, and they took themselves to court. So the nurses themselves, they are saying that for Ministry of Health, they have no issue, but on the Minister of Finance, he has refused to meet them for 6 months. That's why I'm saying that you would have to say that why is it that the minister has not met them and take it off from where the MPP left the issue to get controller to pay them. They did not. And for 6 months, they have been reasonable. But look at my poster. My poster is clear. My poster is that show them some respect. The issue of taking it to court is not right. That's not the way to solve this issue. Taking them to court is not the way to solve it. It's not the way to go about it. You understand? In as much as I will ask the nurses to be lenient for the sake of life. I'm a medical doctor. I'm guided by my ethics. And nobody is happy for lives to be lost.
By leniency, do you mean they should return?
The respect. Yes. Today, ask them. They will tell you. I spoke to the nurses last week. They said they've not shown us any respect. They've not met us. They said June 18th. Even in the strike, they still insist it's June 18th. And please, we are all Ghanaians. A little respect to the nurses will do, okay?
Okay.
So that when you get to the boardroom with them, you can agree and disagree and have an arrangement.
Right.
You don't need to lose lives because of ego, because of change of power, but they don't see it so. They see it as, according to the nurses, they say governance is continuous. So regardless of whether the Minister of Finance of the last regime was there or not, for them, they've given you 6 months. And that is why I said in your sister station that the nurses are right. But government has to be responsive and sensitive to meet up with them, judge with them, and set up a roadmap. And in this occasion, we would want the nurses to be lenient to get things their way, but we don't need to lose lives.
Right, Dr. Nana Ayuafriye is the ranking member on Parliament Select Committee on Health. I want to thank you very much for your time this evening.
Well, Ken, let's go to Parliament now, where the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, says Parliament has already drafted a bill supporting lifestyle audit of individuals suspected of corruption. Well, this development comes amid increasing demands from anti-graft campaigners and the Office of the Special Prosecutor for stricter measures to monitor and recover assets from public servants and politically exposed persons. Well, let's listen to the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Jabwin, raise this at a high-level anti-corruption conference here in Accra.
The principle of lifestyle audit non-conviction-based asset recovery should be stamped in the Constitution to encompass public officers, politically exposed persons, and persons in the private sector suspected of having engaged or engaging in corruption and corruption-related activities. On the reckoning, that the person must have legitimate sources of income sufficient to justify the interest in any property that that person holds. Therefore, where a person's resources far outstrip his legitimate income, the unexplained portion should be liable to confiscation. This will be a critical tool also to detect fraud and undeclared income for tax purposes. Thus, conviction after criminal proceedings should not be a condition precedent for asset recovery purposes. That is, proceedings on an application for a confiscation order or a restraint order should be civil and not criminal.
Well, you heard there the special prosecutor, Kisi Ejabe. Well, Parliament is already taking steps on this. Speaker Alban Bagman says a bill will be drafted to address this issue.
I am to this end receiving a lot of inputs to process legislation in lifestyle audits. So no wonder that is becoming pronounced in speeches of senior members in civil society, in government, and just is it yesterday or 2 days ago, our own Vice President, Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman, made mention of it. We will legislate in this matter. And I was happy to hear OSP also include it in their statement. We will legislate and we will stop this impunity of people flouting ill-gotten wealth in the face of poor Ghanaians.
Well, my colleague James Aveji joins us live from Parliament as we just get an understanding of some of the key things that came up from this meeting between the Speaker and other groups of institutions. James, we're hearing of an Integrity Awards as well as Vulture Awards. Tell me more about it. What exactly is it?
Well, Fostina, so this, if you recall, in March 2025, the network of these institutions called the Key Accountability Institutions Network signed this memorandum of understanding with Parliament, and the motive is to recognize and honor citizens who have held some level of integrity in their dealings as a way of fighting corruption and crime in the country. And so today, the network led by Shraj boss Joseph Wita was here to brief the Speaker on the way so far. The Speaker, in response to the issues they have raised, also indicated that alongside this Integrity Award will be what he calls the Vulture Award, which also look out for persons who have been very disingenuous in their dealings, especially in the public and private sectors. Identify some of those people and name and shame them with this Integrity Award. Most importantly is what he will do if such persons do not turn out to take their Vulture Award.
The concept of naming and shaming by adding the Vulture Award. There is no sanction worse than that. That will be your cross. We want to bestow it upon men or women considered perverse and with the lowest level of integrity in this country. And we see it on a daily basis. People exhibit it with impunity on TV. And the effect of that is so telling on the minds of Ghanaians. Yet everybody is silent. This, we will identify such a person and name the person when we are doing the awards for the persons of integrity. Whether the person attends to take the cross or not, it will be hung there on the person's neck. Very, very important. Ghana must learn to celebrate its heroes of integrity as loudly as it condemns acts of corruption. The two must go together.
You heard there the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagman. But Fostina, I'm thinking about the awards, especially the Vulture Awards. What do you think?
Quite interesting. I imagine the kind of people that would come out for that award.
Vulture Awards.
I'm sure Ken Ofuriatta would have been top on that list if this was that era. But then let's move on to other stories.
Let's move on. And Ghana's ambitious Gold for Oil program, once touted as a bold fix to the country's crippling dollar shortages and surging fuel prices, has now turned into a fiscal headache, racking up over 2 billion cedis in losses amid a deepening currency crisis and dwindling reserves. Well, there's more in this analytical report by Joy News Research Desk.
Since its rollout in January 2023, the Bank of Ghana has disclosed that it incurred losses of 317 million Ghana cedis in 2023 and 1.82 billion cedis in 2024 under the Gold for Oil program. That brings the total losses to some 2.14 billion Ghana cedis. According to the central bank, it injected 4.69 billion Ghana cedis into the program, effectively losing 45% of the capital it deployed in an effort to stabilize fuel prices and support the cedi. On March 13, 2025, the bank officially ended the Gold for Oil initiative, citing the heavy financial losses sustained as a primary reason for shutting it down. The entire arrangement was never subjected to parliamentary oversight. The ruling government argued at the time that the Gold for Oil program was not an executive policy but a central bank initiative and therefore did not require parliamentary approval. The cedi did stabilize months after the G4O's launch and fuel prices fell. While it's hard to isolate the program's direct impact from that of the IMF deal signed in May 2023, the reduced dollar demand from oil importers likely contributed to easing Ghana's exchange rate pressures. But there's still loads of questions unanswered around the Gold for Oil program, which has lost some 45% of its working capital.
Away from that, the Media Foundation for West Africa has criticized the National Media Commission for its perceived ineffectiveness in protecting journalists following the recent assault on Joe News journalist Latif Idris. The alleged assault on MPPs by MPP sympathizer Theophilus Thompson on Joe News journalist Latif Idris happened during his coverage of the detention of the MPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernardine Tribisiaku, popularly known as Chairman Wuntumi.
Well, Mr. Thompson has been remanded into police custody and set to reappear before the court on the 18th of June 2025 after pleading not guilty to accounts of assault and threat of death. We'll hear from Suleiman Ibrahima shortly, but first here's a wrap of what happened in court today. Well, after several minutes of court deliberation, the accused person, 55-year-old Theophilus Thompson, has been refused bail, although that is not what his lawyer would have wished for him. His lawyer argued in court that his client was not a flight risk and had a permanent place of abode and should therefore have been granted bail. But the state prosecutor also argued that if he was granted bail, he could tamper with the current ongoing investigation. They also did indicate that since some of the suspects are at large, it will not be best to grant him bail. Well, counsel for the accused also pleaded with the court to temper justice with mercy and urged the court not to punish his client by refusing him bail. So hearing the pleas of both sides, the presiding judge decided not to grant him bail and remanded him into custody to reappear before the court on the 18th of June 2025. Well, there are still others who are at large, and the police say they are continuing their manhunt for them. Bigwigs of the New Patriotic Party, including Nanabi, who is the national organizer, and also Salam Mustafa, who is the deputy general secretary of the party, all showed up in court to support Theophilus Thompson. The 18th of June is ticking, and we will definitely be here to bring you more. From the Circuit Court, my name is Kenneth Gyasi for Joy News.
Well, we can now hear from the Executive Director of Media Foundation for West Africa, who has charged the National Media Commission to do more to protect journalists in line of duty.
I think the GJA, particularly the current leadership, has shown a lot of commitment and a lot of passion for the fight for press freedom. And let's not forget that this is just an association. It doesn't have the powers to enforce any legislation. It doesn't have the powers to prosecute, for criminal offenses. But I think the biggest failure has been the National Media Commission. And the last time we had the opportunity to meet with the Constitution Review Committee, some of us made that clear, that in order to ensure that journalists are responsible, are professional, and the freedoms that are provided for in our Constitution to be respected, we need a much more effective, a much more vibrant, and a much more focused and dedicated National Media Commission. and it will require some changes happening in terms of the composition and in terms of the law that sets up the NMC by way of the NMC Act to ensure that we truly and honestly have a media regulator that is indeed a regulator, not just on paper, but also in action.
Well, let's take you back to our earlier story where the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association's strike continues to bite hard. We understand that they just concluded an emergency meeting between them and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. And joining me on the telephone lines right now is the association's Vice President, Samuel Kojo. Thank you very much for your time this evening. What was the outcome of the crunch meeting?
Thank you very much to your cherished listeners and to your team as well. I'm getting some echo.
Yes, so I want to find out from you. Yes, it is very clear. If you did not get my question, I want to put it to you again. What's the outcome of your meeting that just concluded between you and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission?
To be able to situate today's meeting for listeners' understanding, I will need to, if you will permit me, to just give a background as to what culminated and ended.
For the sake of time, you would have to make it brief for us because by now we all know the background. So kindly make it brief for us.
Okay. The conditions of service that we signed, we expected it to have been implemented. As you will know, we have been doing a lot of engagement in that regard. But unfortunately, we are not seeing any clear guidelines as to how we are going to implement the conditions of service. We rolled out a roadmap with the aim that the employers will use that gap to be able to address our concerns before it escalates into something different. And that didn't happen. Today, we're invited for a meeting, and we attended. And what the employers are telling us, let me add that this meeting was called at the instance of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, led by its chief executive. There were other stakeholders, the teaching hospital chief executives, the chair of the executive secretary of CHAC, and then the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Labor, and Ministry of Health. At the meeting, the government team tabled a proposal, and the proposal was that they would just approve the conditions of service, and then implementation will start in 2026.
Mr. Samuel, point noted. I just wanted to find out, are you calling off your strike based on your engagement with government today?
Right now, I'm not able to say that because we are here to engage the National Council.
What agreement did you reach during the meeting? Because government already raised some key concerns. That the reason why they wanted to draw you to the negotiation table was because this conditions of service was actually reached during the previous administration, and they had some key concerns they wanted to raise with you. During the meeting, what concerns did they raise, and did you reach a compromise, really?
What they told us was that it was not part of the budget. And this, that is why I wanted to put it in context. We drew the new government coming into office during the transition that this document needed to be implemented. And we were waiting for our minister to be appointed. The minister was appointed. We started the engagement. The budget was to be read. The budget finally was read. And it was not captured. That clearly shows that they don't take our issues very serious, because we can have other health professionals enjoying similar conditions of service. And in our case, they are talking of budgetary constraint. Is it fair?
Mr. Kojo, so did you accept the conditions they tabled before you or reject it?
there was nothing to accept. We
Why?
also gave a counter proposal. It isn't that we just rejected and got up. We were all looking for solutions to the problem. We said, let's start the implementation now. And whatever that is arrears, we can discuss how that can be paid over time. But it's like there is nothing available until 2026.
Okay.
So that is where we have found ourselves.
Right. You've made us aware that the government said they'd never budgeted for this. So what happens? Are you continuing with the strike?
As I said earlier on, I'm not in a position to say until we meet with the National Council.
Okay. And how long is this going to take?
Probably tomorrow or tomorrow next. We are still. Some are still in the field, so we'll see how. Because it's an urgent issue, we need to meet as quickly as possible so that they can advise us what to do.
Well, there's been, deaths all over. We are hearing of reports of mortuary workers being unable to contain the dead bodies that are coming. I believe that you've also heard about the severe constraint this is having on our health sector. Really, are you going to put some human face and reconsider your decision and, call of your strike immediately, perhaps?
Well, for human face, we are also human beings, and we are not happy or we are not proud of what is happening now. What we should be doing is we should appeal to our employers to do the needful, because we are not asking for the moon. What we are asking for is in Ghana here. It's just because they haven't placed our concerns as a priority. So we cannot be responsible for what is going on. Every single life that is lost should be put on our employers, because there is nothing we can do. You call us essential service workers, and we are not treated like essential service workers. And anytime we start some of these agitation, that people are quick to say that you are essential, and because of that, people will hide under this clause of essential workers are not supposed to go on strike, and then they always use the labor commission to harass us to make sure that people must be held responsible for failing to do their work. Who was supposed to table our conditions of service for it to be captured in the budget? Those are the people responsible, not the leadership. We are leading people hoping that we are trying to contain the situation. Every next, they thought they could make an alternative arrangement using those small splinter groups to diffuse our impact.
Mr. Kojo, briefly, the National Labour Commission secured an interlocutory injunction against the strike for you to put it on hold effective immediately. Why are you defying the court orders?
We haven't been served yet.
You've not done what?
We have not been served.
Okay.
We are law-abiding citizens. If they serve us, we are not lawless people. We will take a decision. But we haven't, as at now, we haven't been served.
Okay. All right. Samuel Akogo, thank you very much. He's the first vice president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. It's now time for business, and George Riafe is here with the latest. George?
Well, coming up in business, consumers could be paying more than the One-Cedi as the energy sector a shortfall and debt recovery levy on fuel rather than the initial amount announced. And Chief Executive of Cocoa Board, Randy Abbey, targets returning the firm to profitable position as it's currently being saddled with debts running into 33 billion Ghana cedis. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your offers, essentials, Sinter's tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret?
He said, it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Shout! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
M&C Group is a leading investment holding company with expertise in minerals and food commodity trading, precious minerals refinery, real estate development, and logistics and energy. With individually registered companies, our headquarters is located in Accra, Ghana, with operational offices in Dubai, UAE, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou in China, Johannesburg in South Africa, Virginia in the USA, and Milan, Italy. We connect business markets and drive growth. Trust us to maximize value in every deal. Call us on 0302 551 917 or 0302 551 918 or send us an email mncgroup@mncgroupgh.com. MNC Group, totally reliant.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Cavity protection.
This advert is FDA approved.
Every mosquito study run away.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, consumers of petroleum products could be paying more than the 1 Ghana cedi when the revised energy sector levy takes off from Monday, June 16, 2025. There is more in the following report.
For some individuals, the initial communication following the passage of the bill by Parliament was that consumers will pay 1 cedi as the levy when the implementation kicks off. However, a circular sent to oil marketing companies dated June 6, 2025 revealed that consumers of petroleum products will be paying this new 1 cedi levy in addition to an existing 95 pesos. This will result in the total levy component that will be paid by consumers from June 16, 2025, pegged at 1 cedi 95 pesos. The tariff implementation order from the Ghana Revenue Authority showed that the new taxes will be applied only when the implementation date the authority will formally announce. So, if June 16, 2025 is the new implementation date, all products loaded by these oil marketing companies will not attract the levy. The oil marketing companies have maintained that the application of the levy will push average price of petrol per litre from 11 cedis to 13 cedis.
And that is a business text report. In a related development, Chairman of Parliament Energy Committee Emmanuel Bezra is insisting that the application of the levy will not result in prices going up at the pumps. He has been speaking on the polls this afternoon.
And you can take it from me as the chair of Energy Committee. There is not going to be any increment. All we are seeing is that there is going to be a further reduction. That further reduction was what we have factored into to make it one Ghana. Looking at our economy, the cedi appreciating against dollar, we are saying that that difference is what we are using to buy fuel. And so there will not be increment. If transport units decide to reduce prices as a result of petroleum rate, the same price that they are buying it today, they will continue to buy it. So I don't see why we go on whatever it is, other strike or demonstration.
And Chairman of Parliament's Energy Committee, Emmanuel Bezra, still on the petroleum stories. The Ghana Private Road Transport Union has announced suspension of their planned strike from tomorrow because of certain actions that government has taken or communicated to them. Let's hear from Samuel Amwa. He's the Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union.
Our problem was that we don't want to see, additional cost on the petroleum product again. So when the ministry engaged us, they made us understood that it is not going to affect the pump and there is not going to be any change as of now. We asked them how are they going to do it, because should it go high again, then it means it's going to add another operational cost to our operation. And they gave us their word that it's not going to change, and even the coming 16th, that is next week Monday, that they are going to commence or is going to take effect. We are not going to see any change, at the pump when we go out there to buy fuel.
Samuel Amwa is the Deputy Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. And the new Chief Executive of Kojo, Dr. Randy Abbey, has revealed that he is open to bring the firm back onto a strong financial footing by 2020. Now, this follows revelations that Kojo is now saddled with a huge debt of 33 billion Ghana cedis and some questionable contracts running into $44 million. Dr. Abbey is also optimistic that these measures currently being implemented could fast-track the expected recovery.
First, the scenarios we did, the initial one, because I wanted to have a clean picture, and so did the projections. The projections were going to be over a 4-year period, clear everything. But like I'm saying, our projections have been thrown overboard by the city, so we are reworking it. And then when we redo it, we'll be able to have a clear picture. But there's nothing like being able to pay the debt in a year or two. What we intend doing, and what I believe we will do, is that any contracts that we sign, any agreement that we enter into, we will pay for it. So we will not worsen the situation. So any contracts that we make, we will pay for them, whilst we also see how we can tar the existing one.
Dr. Randy Abbey is the acting chief executive of Kojo. Now, more shopping outlets and supermarkets in the country are taking steps to reduce their prices in line with the city's appreciation against the US dollar, as well as launch promotions to reward customers. But the latest firm to do so is Resettlement Ghana, which has relaunched a promo that is the Cedi Apeki promo to reduce prices further of their items at their shops. Speaking to journalists, the head of marketing and media relations at Resettlement Ghana, Adiza Ibrahim, said the company will continue to reduce prices in line with the city's good run.
The government's directive is that any time the city goes down, as we've been crying for, we should all toe that lane. Electroland Limited has launched the CD Apeke promo, a campaign that is offering significant price reduction on various electronic appliances from top brands, as you know, Samsung, TCL, and Nasco, which is our own brand. This second press conference is in response again to the continuous appreciation of the Ghana cedi against the major foreign currencies, which we want the public to benefit. And so we want to pass this kind of sweet information and Gangantua deals to our end users with a discount on top of the already existing discount.
And that is the head of marketing and media relations at Electroland Ghana, Adiza Ibrahim. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you had invested from the beginning of the year to now, you have made a return of more than 22%. That is far better than what you get when you look at the other investment instruments on the market. And it's interesting, we're having a chat over here about, it looks like when you do a scan, and I stand you educated, it appears as the foreign-owned shopping outlets that are actually dropping their prices when it comes to the cedi's appreciation to the dollar.
Yeah, we'll have to do a further scan, a thorough one, and get substantial data to be able to reach the point where we...
All right, it's time for sports.
Yeah, let's go straight into our stories. And the sports minister, Kofi Adams, has dismissed claims suggesting that the delay in repatriating the body of late Nigerian boxer was caused by the work of the committee set up to investigate the circumstances surrounding his death. According to the minister, the real reason for the delay was a pending autopsy report, not the committee's activities. The comments come in response to remarks made by the president of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Abraham Nikwe, who appeared to blame the committee for stalling the process of returning the body of the late Nigerian boxer.
We never, as a ministry, ordered the non-evacuation of the boxer's body. When somebody dies in a situation that this death occurred, Corona Act kicks in. And so there's a need for an autopsy to be done, not just an ordinary autopsy. This must go through some legal process, and the autopsy has to be endorsed by a court. So the autopsy report, even delayed the work of the committee by 4 days. So if anybody, including the GBA president, is suggesting that it was because of the committee's work that they have not been able to move the body out of Ghana and to Nigeria, that is false. That is not true.
Sports Minister Kofi Adams speaking there. Now, Tottenham Hotspur, who are Europa League champions, stepped up interest to sign Ghana's Antoine Semenyo. According to reports from Sky Sport, the Black Stars attacker, who has impressed this season, is now attracting interest for a number of top clubs, with Tottenham leading the race. Manchester United are also set to be interested in signing the forward, but they have chosen to prioritize the move for Brian Mbeumo of Brentford. That brings an end to sports. Back to you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel. Well, it's been 2 long years since the raging waters from the Akosombo and Kpone dams swallowed homes and scattered lives across North Torn in the Volta region. But for many of the victims, the flood was only the beginning. Today, they endure scorching tents, unfinished houses, and promises that seem to wash away just like the floods. In Joy News' series, After the Floods, Fred Kwame Asari returns to the heart of the devastation, where hope still fights to stay afloat.
Many in Mepe are still waiting for a place to call home again. For Theodora and her family, the wait has been long and unbearable. Her family is one of over 100 households living in temporary UNICEF tents at 3 resettlement camps in the North Town district.
Honestly, the heat inside the tent has caused our children to develop skin rashes, and I'm suffering from them too. When our children fall sick, we have to take them to the hospital ourselves. There's no support at all.
At Camp 1, a 10-unit structure built by the government sits empty. The flood victims say it was hurriedly constructed and unlivable.
They gave all other flood-affected communities a 20-room unit structure, but Mepe's population is larger than those communities. So why allocate the same number of rooms to us? We refused to move in because they expect about 15 households to share one room. Are we slaves? What crime have we committed? Donations have come in, but we don't receive them. And now they want to pack us like sardines into a single room.
The government's resettlement project remains incomplete, but concerns are growing over the cost and quality of the new housing units.
They are putting up 20 rooms, which is 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, no toilet, no bath, small 6x6 posh. Do you want them to stay or to sleep? And they are laying it without mortar joint. When you push it with your hand, the whole thing will collapse. And this building alone, when I tell you, the cost of it is about 800,000 Ghana cedis for these 2 bedrooms alone. Why is the government wasting money in somebody's pocket? Please compensate the victims so that they go to their homes and leave the camps for you.
For these victims, it is not just about shelter, it is about dignity, security, and a chance to rebuild their lives.
They should give us the money to build our own houses. We won't accept the idea of 11 people sharing one room. We don't understand why government will spend 800,000 Ghana cedis on building those shelters.
From Mefe in the Northern District of the Volta region, my name is Fred Kwame Asari for Joy News.
The Fisheries Commission says a search party led by the Ghana Police Service is still working to locate 3 Ghanaian fishery observers who went missing aboard different vessels at different periods of time. Over the last few years, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture has had calls to caution foreign industrial trawlers that their license could be revoked should Ghanaian observers be attacked consistently.
Well, however, speaking on Upfront on Joy News, the new executive director of the Fisheries Commission, Professor Benjamin Campion, told Blessed Suga that the human rights concerns have not fully been resolved. He says, as of now, 3 Ghanaian fishery observers remain missing.
The police are still investigating. Not all disappeared at the same time at different times and at different circumstances. And so, but the important aspect is that they disappeared when they were associated with fishing activities, and therefore we have to account for them from the fishery sector. The challenge is the sea is such a vast environment, and so when the person comes, if the person had a tracking device on his body, it's easy to say, okay, you disappeared at this point. Yes. We never, but you don't have a tracking device on your body. The person says, we all came, we disembarked. Maybe he didn't go home. Yeah, so the problem...
That's serious.
The problem now is your word versus the other person's word.
Do you in any way take responsibility for what's happening?
At least when it comes to a loss of life, the Commission is very much committed to getting to the bottom of it. This a family person, someone who was employed and providing for the family. And so, of course, for every human life, we are committed to making sure, not just for the lost ones, but we still have observers. And so we have to put in place mechanisms for them to feel safe at work, mechanisms to ensure that whatever happened does not repeat.
This is scary. 3 individuals, we cannot find them. Is it the conclusion of the commission that these people are dead?
We don't conclude. The police usually would investigate. For one of them, it even went, a body was found, and the family claimed that was the body of the dead one. They checked some birthmarks and others, but the DNA report showed otherwise.
Well, that's how we wrap up News Night. Ken?
Yes, indeed. It's been a joy coming your way tonight. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
I am Fostina. Safo. Good evening.